but it's so nice to meet you. How are
Oh,
you?
good, good. I'm joining you today from the car. I promise I'm not driving. Um, I'm just hopping between meetings, so I'm really happy to be able to jump on today.
Yeah, thank you so much for making time for us. So, a little bit about this series. This is the third episode of Anthropology in Action, where we talk to career professionals who have anthropology backgrounds. I'm Sanjana. I'm a double major health science and sociocultural anthropology student, and I'm one of Dr. Bell's students, as I'm sure you know. So, to start off, you're about to launch a line of plant based bags, which, by the way, are so beautiful. So, how did you get there from anthropology, now to this chapter in your career? Can you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Boy. Um, okay. So way back, um, the the two things I wanted to be when I was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
I either wanted to be an archaeologist or a fashion designer. I actually wanted to be Indiana Jones. Like I wanted that adventure. I wanted to play in the dirt. I like, not that archaeology is play, but you get where I'm
I know
going.
what you mean.
Um, so I wanted, those were my two preferred paths. And at that point, I really didn't know, I didn't know archaeology belonged to such a broad discipline. And I had gone to, I'd gone to York for just sort of undeclared bachelor's, and I had my first class in anthropology, and I was absolutely hooked. I was like, I finally felt like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to
Yeah.
be. Um, and so I didn't really look back. And so I continued that on and was very fortunate to uh, get to go to Western for my master's, and had such a great experience. And my supervisor, Kim Clark, said, they'll never be a better time than when you're a grad student. And I didn't believe her at the time. You can tell her. And but I believe her now. She was absolutely right. It's such a glorious time to have the exposure to so many great ideas and thinkers, and just have the space to do that. So I went on and decided, well, once I've got the MA, I may as well get the PhD as well. It's a matching set. And so I was fortunate to come back to York and to do that. And I like to say it only took 8 years, um, because in the middle of that there were two kids, two major moves, wedding, and just other stuff, life.
Mm-hmm.
So it took a while, but that's okay. So I went through all that and ended up um, transitioning sort of from anthropology into digital marketing, because there's actually this beautiful resonance between being focused on people doing things in the world and marketing, which, if you do it right, it provides people with access to things they didn't know existed, but that might solve problems for them. Um, and so I built a department of digital marketers, and for Tree Frog, which is a digital transformation agency. And so did that for a number of years. And then I'm like, okay, I need to do something different, completely
Yeah.
different. So I went and I worked for a Canadian apparel brand, outdoor apparel. I'm like, okay, I got to see, as an anthropologist, right? I have to get on the ground floor. I got to get in. I've got to, do my participant observation for, like, what is behind
Yeah.
fashion. We'll have a view from the outside as to what it is and how it works, and what goes into it. And so I was doing global communications and e-commerce for Canadian brand. And I did that for a number of years, and it was incredibly eye-opening. You could write a book just about that experience. Absolutely fascinating. We, that was actually during, I went there in 2019. So it was a lot of that time was spent during the pandemic, and trying to keep the business going in an e-commerce sense. So I'm like, okay, that was a fantastic and rewarding and just incredible experience. Maybe it's time to do something else. And so I had this idea for a startup. Doing The original idea was Canadian made eco textile or biotextile apparel. And so I worked on that a little bit. I ended up going through an accelerator, business accelerator, the same one that I now run. And so I really wanted to launch that, and I learned a lot about what it takes to, say, for example, nearshore or do things local. We all want, like many of us, want to buy
Mhm.
local and want to support local, but there are significant hurdles, especially for fashion, to produce locally. It's not impossible, it's just difficult.
Yeah.
So, in the midst of all that, of trying to get all of those pieces in play, I met he's actually a startup founder too. He just happens to own a production facility. And he had the ability to work with this absolutely revolutionary textile called Mirum, which is by Natural Fiber Welding out of the US. And it is 100% bio-based,
Oh.
non-toxic pigments. And at the end of its life, actually, I've got one.
Ooh.
I, I carry it because I'm product testing. So
Awesome.
got to carry it. At the end of its life, it can be chipped up and added as a soil additive. So it actually gives
Oh,
back to the
that's
soil. Um,
amazing.
yeah, completely biodegradable at end of life. And yeah, so I was so excited to work with this particular material
Mhm.
that I'm like, okay, I wasn't planning to do handbags, but I was like, all in, let's pivot, go this direction now.
Mhm. Wow. That's quite a journey.
It's a little
Sounds
bit
a
of
little
a,
bit similar to mine. So I didn't come into undergrad thinking I was going to do anthropology
yeah,
either. And then I took one class and I was like, wow, this is so interesting. And then I switched my entire major, minor, everything like that. So thank you for sharing that with us. Now, how did you get the entrepreneurial skills that you need in your career now? And did anthropology help you with any of it?
oh, for sure, for
Mm-hmm.
sure. If you've ever, it's just like, it's just like giving a conference paper, right? You're trying to convey an idea to to people in a way that makes sense to them, that honors what you've done, and it's that same. It's performative. Let's just say that it's very performative. That performance, that performativity,
Mm-hmm.
um, is the same thing. It is very similar to entrepreneurship. You have an idea and now you've got to sell it.
Right.
You've got to
Right.
convince people that it's a good idea, and get excited about it, and
Mm-hmm.
convince them to get excited about it. And it's less actually convincing and it's more like sharing,
Mm-hmm.
um, because if you hit upon the right thing, then it's easy to get people excited about the idea. So anthropology was a great grounding for that, as well as understanding a lot about, uh, the, when you're speaking to an audience, any kind of audience, really, understanding, or at least being able to speculate about their worldview and how to talk to them,
Yeah.
and what are the things that are going to resonate. And it dovetails really nicely into marketing,
Yeah.
because understanding that worldview is just so absolutely crucial if you want to, for example, launch a new product. Um, so I think that, anthropology offers a great, um, just a great, it's just the all around best discipline. I'll just put that out there.
Yeah, we're learning a lot about that in the Anthropology of Shopping course, how consumer habits are cultural, shopping is cultural,
Absolutely.
the economy is cultural. So
Yeah.
are there any more transferable skills that you would say anthropology has given you to work in many other disciplines?
Oh, for sure. Um, so there are some, so a couple of, I guess, a few things there. Theoretical approaches. I know some people have kind of maybe ambivalent feelings towards theory or resistant feelings towards theory, but it really is, they're beautiful tools to think with. And they don't cease to become relevant when you're out
Mm-hmm.
in the world and in a job. And I can't even tell you, I don't know if anyone reads Bourdieu anymore, but like if there are some things that never cease to be valuable. So understanding disposition, understanding class taste, understanding the way power works or the way power can work. Um, we or even something. So we took at Western just an absolutely mind changing class with Regna Darnell on theory, where we read A Thousand Plateaus. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like life was never the same after that, because it was
Wow.
like, it was just like so eye opening. People have lots of feelings around postmodernism, but as a tool to think with, or part of a toolkit to think with, just, you know, don't don't discount the role and the value of theory, and trying to understand at sort of a broader, more holistic level what you're seeing and how it all fits together and how it makes sense. Because you can't consider consumer habits without the economy, as you said. Like these things go together. So so theory would be one thing. What else? The collegiality. um, that is definitely something I bring from anthropology into the startup ecosystem, is this sense that, we need to be intentional about our communities, because being an undergrad and a grad student, a PhD student, is a lonely road
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. And it's our colleagues that sometimes get us through. I had at Western, I had weekly lunches with one of my colleagues, Jack, and I don't think I would have survived
Oh.
without him. So it was just, we bounced ideas, and it was just such a great opportunity. So the collegiality is, you can't underplay that. Um, what else? Oh, the uh, I would say critical thinking, but it's beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
It's the ability to see the relationships at a broad scale. And I think coming also from a corporate background, um, being able to look at the macro and see how it relates to the micro, or see how these things are shift together, is exceptionally important.
Yeah,
Because if you're working in a corporate setting, um, being able to take a step back sometimes and say, okay, how do all of these pieces fit together?
absolutely.
um, and that vantage is really, really unique, to anthropology.
I completely agree. Thank you for that perspective. Now, for high schoolers or undergrads, grad students, do you have any advice for anyone who's considering anthropology or pursuing anthropology, and just how to get ahead?
Oh, take anthropology for sure. um, yeah, at the very least get into an intro course, just to kind of learn about some of the ideas.
Mm-hmm.
It's So I was a TA for many years, for intro to anthropology, both at Western and at York. And it's almost like the students had to get their sea legs. So the first few weeks and the first like few months, they're like, oh my goodness, I didn't know I didn't know the world existed like this. Right.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
And then after that, and they go through this period. So they go through a liminal phase, and this in-betweenness. And they come out at the other side and they're like, oh my goodness, I am never going to see the world the same way. And I used to tell a lot of my students, and I believe this to this day, that they are agents of change.
Oh.
We often feel we often feel powerless as
Mm-hmm.
individuals, but I said, the things you learn in this class and in this degree, if you pursue it, you are going to take out into the world. You are going to become teachers and politicians and corporate leaders, and you're going to take these ideas and this way of understanding the relationships in the world, and you're going to take it out. And so you get to be like,
Yeah.
you, part of the change that we want to see, and you get to enact that. And so they were like, the first day when I said that, they're like, you're full of it. You're like, who is this
Yeah.
person? Why is she saying this? And then at the end, by the last class, they're like, we get it now.
Mm-hmm.
We understand where you were going with that, you know,
Yeah,
because there's a wonderful sense of just awareness that um, that anthropology offers about the world.
absolutely. I think when you're in first year coming in undergrad, you don't think you can do anything.
No.
You feel so helpless, you feel so new, but it's exactly what you're saying. Anthropology gives you a whole different perspective that I don't really think high school offers in its
Yeah.
courses. So then your world just opens up. And that's exactly how I felt when I took my first anthropology course. I didn't know you could study this and you could actually dive deeper into it. So that's great advice. And I'm taking logical thinking and practice, and we discuss a lot about academic jargon and whether it's necessary or
Yeah.
should, we try to move away from it to make our pieces more accessible to public. So I've been asking all of our speakers if you have a favorite piece of anthropological or business jargon that you use in your daily life, and one that you think is necessary. People have said grassroots communities, intersectionality, decolonization, and consumability. I heard you say liminal phase, and I recognize that from one of my anthropology classes.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if one is at the top of your head.
Oh my goodness. That's a tough question.
It's so
Um,
broad.
I I'd say it's tough because uh, also coming from a digital marketing background, it's all acronyms all the time, and it's
Mm-hmm.
so inaccessible as a uh, it's not really discipline, but as a vocation that it makes it very difficult to communicate, um,
Exactly.
all ideas. So from
Is
anthropology,
there any acronym that you use basically every day that the public might not know, but now you can tell us?
one that I use every day. Oh my goodness. It's really tough. I don't know if I don't know if it's anthropological in nature really, but we
Doesn't
talk a lot
matter.
about and it's not so much an acronym, it's just the concept of value. Well, actually, no, I take that back. That is intensely anthropological
That is
because we could
very
probably
anthropological.
debate what value is and
Exactly.
in what context. So in the accelerator, we talk a lot about value because we are trying to
Mm-hmm.
provide value to our startups. And what kind of forms does that take? Is it education? Is it mentorship? Is it introductions to investors? Things like that. So we talk a lot about value. Um, I don't know.
That's a
Maybe I'd
great
have to
one,
you'd have to
because
ask
you
my
could.
team.
I know, put you on the spot, but that's a really good one because I think a lot of fields discuss value, and it means so many different things depending on where you go.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? You could talk about economic value. You could talk about value of life. As in health science, we talk about that a lot and what it means to live, have a good quality of life and things like that. So, and then in anthropology means something different. And that's a great one because I think at face value, it comes across as a general term that's accessible to the public,
yeah,
but you can just dive into it deeper and deeper. Anyway, that is our last question. And I want to say thank you so much on behalf of Western Anthropology for taking time out of your day in between your meetings to do the third episode with us. And we really appreciate you coming.
Oh, thank you so much. This has been great. And if I could say any parting words sort of to potential students thinking about getting into
Mm-hmm.
anthropology or current students is there's so much absolutely fascinating work being done in anthropology, across the different areas, and it's just such an exciting discipline and so relevant now, that I think it has applicability to almost any career path.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I agree. And that's what we're hoping to show people with this series. So thank you for those words. And I bet we've inspired somebody with this episode.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Laurie. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, you too. Take care.
Bye. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.